Everyone. Happy Tuesday to each and every one of you. It's great to see you. New faces, old faces, reoccurring faces. Happy and glad that you are here with us on this July 7th. You know what, guys? Way to kick off Q3 because we are going into Q3 and hopefully you're going as strong as we are. My name is Brigitta Hoeferle. I'm the CEO of the NLP Center of Atlanta, and I couldn't be more excited to have yet another course, and there will be many more to come, with our faculty member and powerhouse in his own knowledge, right, Mr. John Kurth. John, thank you for joining us today yet again, for doing all the hard work and writing the syntaxes and brainstorming with me how we can make this even better and people giving more information to folks.
Yeah, well, it's a pleasure to be here. We'll get into housekeeping in a little bit. I'm John Kurth. I'm president and founder of Syntactic Sales Scripting. I have an international MBA, worked and lived in Asia for more than 7 years and speak Mandarin Chinese conversantly. I'm also an author of What Are Your Words Wearing, the business textbook, and I'm a graduate of the Academy of Competitive Intelligence out of Boston, Massachusetts, and I'm a certified competitive intelligence professional. I don't say this to brag. I say this so you can have confidence in the information we're sharing today. So, Brigitta, I'm going to let some other people in, and why don't you go cover a little bit of housekeeping before we kick this off?
Absolutely. We are here to give you a lot of content-rich information. We're going to do it fast. So please turn off any distractions that you have. If you have a phone, I know that you're all very important people, but put it on silent right now. You don't need it right now. Stay present. Have something to write with, something to write on, because we are going to give you a whole lot of information. Know that we're going to share the recording with you. We're also streaming this, love it, Jeannie, thank you. We're also streaming this live on Facebook, and you're always welcome to go back to our NLP Atlanta Facebook page. Once the 6-part series over, we're also going to upload it onto YouTube. So you're welcome to follow us on the NLP Atlanta YouTube channel, where we have other courses that are free for you to use and review and learn from on our YouTube channel. And let's just make it complete on Instagram. We're also available and visible, Instagram NLP Atlanta, and on Twitter and all the other social media. So you think of them, we're probably on there. So I'm excited to be here with you as we're going to go into, excuse me, the wind tunneling your business and how to develop robust strategies with scenarios. Let me share my screen and we will start from here. All right, over to you, John.
All right,
let's blow their socks off.
Yeah, we're talking about wind tunneling your business, how to develop robust strategies with scenarios. See a little bit about the scenario planning process. It was pioneered by Royal Dutch Shell in the early 70s. And it was really a way of dealing with massive uncertainty and still create actionable strategies that you can use. Royal Dutch Shell, when they started the scenario process, was about the 9th largest oil company at the start of the 1970s. 10 short years later, they were 3rd. That's what's possible with the strategic insights that you can get with scenarios. Now, you don't have to be a multi-billion-dollar multinational company. It still applies to both small and medium-sized businesses. Think of an aeronautical engineer. We've got our model here. They wind tunnel it in the model in the wind tunnel to find strengths and weaknesses. Well, scenario planning allows you to wind tunnel your business for areas of massive change and times of massive uncertainty. Now, the scenario planning process is both a process tool and an analytical tool. It really is a strategic ongoing conversation. There's a powerful book you're going to want to pick up called Scenarios, The Art of Strategic Conversation by Kees van der Heijden. Just write down the title. He's Dutch, obviously. So The Art of Strategic Conversation. He was one of the key scenario planners at Royal Dutch Shell. Now we're dealing with uncertainty. How do we deal with uncertainty? So let's advance to what's called the cone of uncertainty. All right. So we have past, present. Now we've got short-term uncertainty. That's 2 years. Medium is 5 years. Long-term is 20. Very long is 50. So think about 9/11. When the attack of 9/11 happened, that was an event-based scenario. Everything changed. So event-based scenarios, the time horizon is short-term, 6 months to 24 months. So now we're dealing with the pandemic. That is our short-term event-based scenario. Medium-term, 5 years. Long-term, now into the 50 years, that's dealing with climate change scenarios. So scenarios is a way to handle the uncertainty in a box enough that you can gain actionable and robust strategies out of it. Now, scenarios is a process-driven strategy. Now, many business owners make the mistake of looking for the optimum strategy. Let's find the optimum strategy. Sorry, that doesn't work in times of massive disruption. That's why the scenario planning process tool is so well. Now, let's talk about what scenarios are not. Scenarios are not forecasting. Forecasting is a trap. It just doesn't work. And don't put a probability on the chances of a scenario occurring. That's just forecasting by the back door. So this is kind of the overview of what scenarios are. And now we're getting into the 8 steps of the scenario planning process. It's process-driven, and you get process-driven results. Brigitta.
Yes, let's go through the 8 steps as we are going through the next 6 days. We're going to do step 1 and 2 today, and then we're going to build on those steps in the upcoming calls tomorrow and Thursday, and then again Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday next week. So here's an overview. Today, step 1, identifying focal issue and decision. Step 2, key forces in the local environment. Step number 3 is the driving forces. Number 4, we're ranking by importance and uncertainty. Step number 5, selecting the scenario logics. Step number 6, fleshing out the scenarios. Step number 7, the implications. And step number 8, selection of leading indicators and signposts. And we will take you step by step through this as we are covering steps number 1 and 2 today, and steps number 3 and 4 tomorrow. So in this, there is an importance of reframing. And reframing is all about seeing a current situation from a different angle, from a different perspective. That will help in an individual situation, in a coaching situation, perhaps, help the other person to look at it from the outside in, or from a different angle into the situation. Often we stand in front of a wall, and we just don't know where to go in that wall, and it just takes a little bit of turning to see it from a different angle, and perhaps the wall has an end to it, or perhaps there's an over it, or perhaps there's a through somewhere. On the scenarios are the reframing on the organizational level. So not on the individual level, but on the organizational level. That's where the scenarios are coming in as a process tool. And scenarios are also a content tool, a way of gaining a new perspective on the world. So there's a reframing piece in this, and that is what the scenarios are, and this is what we're focusing on in the next 6 days, or next 5 days, 6 days including today. Scenarios are the best way that we know of reframing how the organization thinks about a strategy. John, let's talk about some of these questions.
Yeah, some other points on reframing, and then we'll continue. Reframing from the organizational perspective. So many companies get trapped in the official history. What's the official story that the business is using? Well, most official stories and official strategies got thrown out the window once the pandemic hit. Sorry, denial is not a strategy. Actually, denial is a very effective strategy for failure. So we're not talking about denial. Denial doesn't work. So we're talking about how to reframe how the organization looks at their strategy and looks going forward. It's not just one person who gets the insight. Multiple people get it through the scenario planning process. Let's talk about the key questions for kicking this off. So question number one, first of all, the quality of your questions determines the quality of your answers. So you get your questions right, you're 50% of the way there. So question number one, what will decision makers at your company be thinking hard about in the new future? What will decision makers at your company be thinking about in the new future? Old's gone, sorry, it's gone, ladies and gentlemen, done. Question number two, what are the decisions that have to be made that will have a long-term influence on the future of the company? Knee-jerk reactions aren't going to cut it. You need to look at long-term influence. That's why the scenario planning process can give you robust strategies not only in the short term, but in the long term. Next slide, please. Now, one of the key questions we're talking about, step number one, is what's the risk in the local environment? There's 5 types of risk. It's pronounced PESTY. It's the acronym. Political risk, economic risk, social risk, technological, and environmental risk. This is risk for you and your business, the focal firm. We got to start local with that. So the PESTY framework helps you identify 5 types of risk. It's beyond risk management. You want to get into risk engineering. So this framework, the PESTY framework, gives you an overall picture of the risks involved. You need to write down your understanding of the various risks under the various respective categories. Quick thing, political risk. Some cities and municipalities said mask. Others said don't. Political risk, do you open up early or do you wait? Economic, social, technological, environmental. You have to have a frame to start looking at the risk. Otherwise, it's too big. The scenarios get you into that. That's why it's such a powerful framework. Brigitta.
Yeah, let's talk about the importance of coaching through the process in the scenarios. Often we're so in it that it's hard to see what are the opportunities or what are the challenges. So the importance of the coaching through the scenario process requires an openness on the decision makers. And as we like to say, your mind is like a parachute. It only works when it's what? Open. Exactly. So there is the coach will help you to see more clear through everything that you have going on. And there's then also, after that clarity, there's got to be a willingness to take action, a willingness to being open of reframing and challenging the official story of what you think is the story right now, or what you think is the reality right now, and looking at other possible realities and possible other scenarios. In fast-moving times, you'll need a culture of an open communication. If you do not have any line or direct communication, that is something that you want to adapt, because I hope that you all know the law of requisite variety, and that is the person with the most flexibility controls the system. Having success in management will depend more on the facilitation than command and control. So having someone that will facilitate, having someone that will hold you accountable, having someone that will think with you through those scenarios is going to be not just necessary, but invaluable. Scenarios require both strength and good coaching. So it's the strength of your own, it's the strength of your going through the steps, it's the tenacity of you going and looking at it from different angles, and having people that will coach you through it. So as we are moving forward, we're going to take deeper looks into the different steps. Tomorrow, we're going to take a look at step 3 and step 4. Tomorrow is about driving forces and ranking by importance and uncertainty. It is not about creating more certainty, but taking action despite of the uncertainty. And do you want to add anything, John, on the coaching and on the step number 3 and 4? Oh, John, I think you're muted.
All right, now can you hear me? See,
Yes.
technology, you gotta love it. Again, this makes this all possible. Remember, pesty, one of the risks is technological. Case in point, that was a pesty risk. That was a technological risk. So dealing with the driving forces and rank by importance and uncertainty. Why is it a strategic conversation? Because this process is going to expand your awareness to then develop those strategies that you could not have thought of initially. And especially when you're working with a team, now you're going to generate dozens of ideas on how to handle the uncertainty. Brigitta, just share with us a quick story about the Corning's glass company and how they pulled everybody together and got together with a great new strategy. What was that?
So there's a company, can't remember in which book I read it, the Pyrex company, and other companies have found out a similar process to harden the glass in the way that Pyrex has hardened it, and put it on the market for much less money. So they had a big competition that was selling the same product for less amount, and it brought their company almost to a standstill, and you know, they were about to go bankrupt. And the company went to their employees and said, look, we have these machineries, we have these processes. What are other ways that we can use these machines, the process, to create something different with what we already have? Zig Ziglar said, you know, what are you going to do with what you got, and do it in a different way and create perhaps something different? And the company's employees stuck their heads together for 90 days. And what they came out with was tempered glass. And they sold it, and later on it was used, or it is now used in on the cell phones. So it is all about looking at it from a different angle with what you already have, with what you might be already doing, with the knowledge and the certainty or the confidence that you have in what you're doing, and doing it in a different way, or creating something even more or a little bit different than what you already have. And that often doesn't just take your own brain power, it does take your action, but it takes the brain power of others as well. So that's what we're all about.
It's totally process driven. So tomorrow we're going to go through step 3 under driving forces of the scenario planning process, and step number 4, ranking them by importance and uncertainty. Anything else, Brigitta, before we take this on home and you can take us on home?
Yes. No, this is it for today, guys. We promised that we're going to make it short and sweet, and we were not kidding. We're going to give you a whole lot of information, a whole lot of strategies in a short time. So again, tomorrow, 9 o'clock Pacific time, 12 o'clock Eastern. This is an ongoing course. So we are, as you saw today, we're starting with step 1 and 2, going into step 3 and 4, and this is how we're going to move forward. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday this week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday next week. We are going to use the same Zoom link every time. So you reuse the Zoom link that you used today. You're welcome to spread the word, invite others. You can invite them via the Eventbrite link or the Zoom link, the registration link. And we are here. We were streaming live on Facebook. Right? We are still streaming live on Facebook, and you're welcome to watch the recording there, or wait till we send you an email as well sometime today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let me stop sharing my screen here real quick, and I want to make sure that we have all, oh, well, I guess it's not wanting to stop sharing. Here we go. See all of your lovely faces. Thank you for being on today. I appreciate you. I will see you again tomorrow. Bye for now. All right, we are live. Welcome, everyone. This is our second day of the wind tunneling your business and creating how to develop robust strategies. We are here with you again today. My name is Brigitta Hoeferle. I am the CEO of the NLP Center of Atlanta, and I'm excited and honored to be here with you again for this second session today as we're going through steps 3 and 4. With me here is John Kurth. John Kurth is part of our faculty here at the NLP Atlanta, at the NLP Center of Atlanta. John, over to you.
Yeah, welcome, Brigitta. It's so nice to be a part of the team. So a little bit about my background. I have an international MBA, worked and lived in Asia for 7 years, speak Mandarin conversantly. I'm the co-founder, or actually the founder of Syntactic Sales Scripting, and the author of this business book, What Are Your Words Wearing? Also, I'm a graduate of the Academy of Competitive Intelligence based out of, and I see Alana has her book, so thank you. Good. So we've got that. So good. Wonderful. I graduated as a certified competitive intelligence professional from the Academy of Competitive Intelligence out of Boston, and I've been personally trained by a scenario planner at Shell. I don't say this to brag. I say this so you can have confidence in what Brigitta and I are sharing with you today. Over to you, Brigitta.
Awesome. Thank you so much, John. A few quick housekeepings as we move forward. It's time to turn these things off. You don't need them right now because they're just a distraction. Also, your emails, I turn off my emails too so you don't get the bing on my side. Have something to write with and something to write on as we are going through great strategies and give you step-by-steps as we go through these content-rich sessions with you, which are usually about 20 minutes long. That also means, and this is great news, and I'm happy to share it with you, there will not be a time to answer any questions in this course, but there will be a course where we're going to take more in-depth, we're going to go more in-depth into the strategies. We're going to share more about that later, and where you're going to have an opportunity to ask us questions. And I know some of you have gone through some of these courses with us, so we're very excited to offer them to you as we move through this course as well. So stay present, be here. Most of you, I think all of you, should have received the recording from yesterday and with the workbook that I have sent out to you from yesterday's session, and I'm going to do that moving forward with the next sessions that we have going on. So thanks again for tuning in today. We're here live on Facebook in our NLP Facebook group. If you're not part of it yet, this is a really good time to, once we are concluding today's session, to add yourself to that Facebook group. And also I want to invite you to come on to our YouTube channel. And we have more information to share with you on our YouTube. We go through the neurological levels, which I'm going to mention today in our course as well. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and start our screen share as we are going into the second session today. And I want to reiterate really quick, we did step 1 and step 2 yesterday. So identifying the focal issue or decision, and step number 2, the key forces in the local environment. Today, we're going to go into the driving forces and ranking by importance and uncertainty. So as we are going through that, make sure that you are taking great notes on the information that we're sharing with you. So going right into the trends versus the driving forces, and I want to look at the streams versus rivers. Trends, and we've all been there, we've all followed somewhere, probably when we were younger, followed a trend, may it be in our own personal life or in our business, followed a trend, and we've found out that a trend can easily dry up. A trend is a trend. It's not something that lasts very long. And trends are like streams. They can be blocked or even run dry. They can be blocked by all of these trees that can fall down and all of the limbs, or there might not be enough water that will feed those trends, those streams. And that can be very risky. Following the latest trend, following the latest thing in business can be very, very risky. So we want to rather focus on the driving forces. Now here you see a picture of the Mississippi River. Do you think it's easy? You see how the river is making a bend. It is a driving force. Can we agree that the Mississippi River is a driving force? I mean, literally, we have industries working and relying on the Mississippi River. Can we agree that it would not be easy to straighten out this bend that you're seeing in this visual, right? It is clearly not doable to straighten out the Mississippi River. It is a driving force. So in your business, you're going to have driving forces, and it's up to you to acknowledge those driving forces. You have no control over those driving forces. They are there. So it is up to you. The more you're able to adapt, you can and generate robust strategies, you are going to be able to use those driving forces and be successful despite what is the driving force. So rivers, in this case, are powerful and they're practically unstoppable. And that is our goal for you as well. John, over to you.
One other thing I like to note, notice in this picture the size of that ship in the Mississippi River. That is not a boat. That is a ship. Look how big that is. And it is also being moved along by the Mississippi River. That's a driving force. So it doesn't matter how big or small your business is, it is affected and impacted by driving forces. Brigitta, let's switch to the next slide, please. So the thing is, I'll go back to the Mississippi River in a second. So go back to here. So really, from step 2, going from trends, now you're going into discovering and identifying the driving forces. Okay, again, driving forces are things that impact your business that you have no control over. Driving forces are uncertain and have major impacts on your business. Let's use something that's going on right now. The length of the duration of the pandemic. Is it short? Is it long? That is a driving force for businesses across the world right now. Is it uncertain? Oh, yes. Is it impactful? Oh, yes. That is a classic example, one that everyone can relate to on the call, of a driving force. So how do you identify those driving forces? We need to turn to a very useful model, which is called the iceberg. All right, so notice on the iceberg, there's events, patterns, and structure. Events and patterns are at the waterline or above the waterline. See the little waves on the top of the pyramid? Those are the events, those are the patterns. But you're looking for the deep structure. The deep structure is where you find driving forces. Information is a driving force. Cultural changes, resources or lack thereof, legislation, people opening up early before the government said, okay, that is a driving force. I'm just using a more close to home example. Demography, demographics. The boomer generation was called the pig in the python. Right, there was all these boomers, and right, the python eats the pig at the beginning when they were babies, right? And then the pig moves through the python all the way to the very end. That's a driving force. That's a demographic driving force. Technology, ecology, thresholds, physics, policy, power distribution. You're looking for the driving forces that are at the structural level. It's very easy to get fooled, sidetracked, or even seduced by the events and patterns. Remember the streams? Streams are trends. Oh, this is going to go forever. No, it's not. Focusing on the new too much is called neomania. It's craziness for the new. But as far as scenario building process, number 3, to look for the driving forces, you start at the events, look for patterns, and then you go into the deep structure. That is essential. And again, as you can see behind the pyramid, again, with an iceberg, 7/8 of it, or about 90% of a iceberg is below the water. You only see 10%. But the driving forces are at the structural level. Brigitta.
Let's go through step number 4 of the scenario building process, and that is ranking by importance and uncertainty. Yes, you heard me right. Importance and uncertainty. So the driving forces need to be ranked by both importance and uncertainty. The point is to identify the 2 or 3 factors or driving forces that are most important and also most uncertain. You must choose. John said it earlier, the duration of the pandemic, is it an impact of demand? Is it delayed? Is the demand delayed, or is the demand destroyed? In this case, and this is the driving force as well, the denial does not work. So you just closing your eyes and going, the pandemic never happened, that's not going to work. So you must look at the importance and the uncertainty of it. People fear uncertainty. Here, the key here is that you're going to do it in spite of the uncertainty, that you're going to do as much as possible, although there is uncertainty. The scenario process empowers your company to work with uncertainty. With the scenario process, you will be more certain. We are, John, do you want to add anything to that?
Yes, because when you're going through the scenario process and looking for the driving forces, it gets you to focus on the long term, the long game. I've got bad news for you, ladies and gentlemen. The virus is playing the long game. How many states or areas opened way too early? Oh, everything's fine. Everything's going to be wonderful the way it was before. And look what's happened. So the driving forces get you to focus not only on the long term, but what are some strategies you can do now that can then allow you to navigate through the process. The virus is playing the long game. So many businesses are playing the short game, like, oh yeah, well, we can go back to the way it was. Sorry, we're not. Maybe later, but certainly not now. So that's why you got to focus on the driving forces. Now, it's better to focus on 2 driving forces instead of 3. You want to chunk it up. All right, we talked about the duration of the pandemic. Is it short? Is it long? All right, that's 1 driving force. If you go into 3 driving forces, it becomes unmanageable. The number of scenarios becomes unmanageable. I'll go deeper into that on another call. The thing is, with 2 driving forces, you now have a box around the uncertainty. It is now manageable. You've got 1 driving force here, 1 driving force here on both axes. Now you've got a box to handle the uncertainty. Now you can disassociate from it enough to then look, what strategies can we use to be successful here? That's why later on in the process, we talk about robust strategies. But you have to identify the driving forces, because if you don't, the uncertainty, how many people have you seen around in business and otherwise that are absolutely panicking right now? They are losing their heads. Not literally, but figuratively. Sorry, panic is a non-resourceful state. Panic is an unresourceful state. Fear driving is an unresourceful state. With the scenario process, you're able to step back, look at it more objectively, because now the uncertainty is bound. It is not making it like this, but it is now workable. Now you can identify the strategies that are going to work that you can then implement. But you only remember, scenario planning is a process. That's why we're going through step 1, step 3, all the way through step 8. When it's process driven, you get results. The best strategy methodology I know of at times of major disruption and major uncertainty, it's called discontinuity, is scenarios. Brigitta.
Thank you for that, John. let's go through the importance of the coaching through the scenario process. As John said, it is a process. It is process driven in order to get results. And in order to get those results, you must also, we used this term before, you must get disassociated at some point. And getting disassociated with something that you're so in, and that is your business and your life, is hard. It's, if it were easy to do, everyone would do it. That's where the coaching comes in. That's where a skillful and certified coach will help you to become more open and will help you to look at the scenario from different angles, to help your business go through the process and allow yourself to see it from different angles, to get you out of the unresourceful state, as John just mentioned, and get you into a resourceful state. Because as long as you're in an unresourceful state, you're not going to get anywhere. You're not going to get the results that you want. And if you're not getting the results that you want, that is a clear feedback that your mindset is not where it needs to be. So if your mindset is not where it needs to be, you cannot take action either. So all of that, as you see, is a process in itself. And reframing, for the ones that have gone through an NLP practitioner course where we go through reframing, and scenarios is the reframing for your organization. Reframing is going to be your best friend, and that gives you different angles to look at, and you must be disassociated, or it will help you to be disassociated. All of that is open communication. It's open communication within your organization. It's open communication with yourself. It's open communication with you and your team members. And it's open communication outwards as well. So in fast moving times, you'll need a culture of open communication. And that is a skill that you want to adapt as well in your business. Success in management will depend more on facilitation rather than command and control. So facilitating rather than commanding and controlling, specifically the driving forces, because we've established that there is no control over it. Scenarios require both strength and good coaching. It requires both your strength and good coaching, and having people in your organization that will coach you and your team through that. So we're going to talk more about the selection of scenario building process, the selecting scenario logics, and we're going to do that tomorrow. Tomorrow is Thursday. We're going to do that again at 9 o'clock Pacific time, 9 a.m. Pacific, and 12 o'clock Eastern time. John, do you have any last words for us today?
Well, the thing is, on the scenario logics, give you a little taste of what's coming. You're putting together a narrative, a story that your business is acting in. Now with that framework, putting together that narrative, the scenario logics, now you can associate into the story enough that you will identify good strategies that you can use. Ultimately, they're looking for robust strategies. So you associate into it enough that you can feel it like it's real, and you'll generate gut level good strategies to work from that. But you're not so associated that you panic and shut down. But you're not so disassociated that it's an academic exercise. This is one of the most powerful programs I know. So I want to acknowledge everyone for being on the call today, and to stick with the process. Processes produce predictable results. Shell went from 9th largest oil company in the world to 3rd in 10 short years. That is billions of dollars and massive gains of market share. You don't have to be a multi-billion-dollar company for this to work for you. Scenarios work from small, medium, and large. Brigitta, over to you, and you can take us on home.
Awesome. Thank you so much, John. We're going to see you guys tomorrow again for step number 5. Thank you for being on. Spread the word. You're welcome to re-listen to it either on our Facebook page, or we're going to send out the recording to you later today. Thank you. See you tomorrow. Bye for now. Ciao. Bear with me. All right. Welcome everyone. Man, we came on like hitting the ground running. Thanks for all of your great questions. And that's just the beauty of coming on early and being in the waiting room and being one of the first ones. So we want to kick this off. Please have something to write with and something to write on. Where is my block? Right here. Have it ready. Exactly. Turn this little thing off. We don't need it right now. And excited yet one more time, and many more to come. Brigitta Hoeferle here. I'm here with John Kurth. And John, excited and honored to be here yet again with you and with all of you that came on live today and that are also watching on our Facebook Live. John.
All right, again, Brigitta is my fellow Grandmaster of NLP. She is a business owner in her own right. I'm the founder of Syntactic Sales Scripting. I have an international MBA, 7 years working and living in Asia. I lived through SARS, so ladies and gentlemen, this is my second time around with pandemics. So that's just heads up on that. I'm the author of What Are Your Words Wearing? And I'm a graduate of the Academy of Competitive Intelligence out of Boston, Massachusetts. And I've personally been trained by a scenario planner at Shell. So I don't say this to brag. I share this with you today so you can have confidence in what Brigitta and I are sharing with you today. Brigitta.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So we are continuing with number 3 in our 6-part series. Let me go back to my screen. Bear with me. Here we go. So we have gone through steps 1 through 5 so far. So on Tuesday, we started with step 1 and 2, identify focal issue or decision and key forces in the local environment. We've gone through step number 3 and 4, the driving forces and ranking by importance and uncertainty. And then going into step 5, selecting scenario logics. So that's where we are today. We are in the scenario logics. So you've identified your driving forces that were the most important and uncertain. And today we are covering the scenario logics. So you may have 1, 2, or even 3 driving forces. And once the fundamental axes of the crucial uncertainties have been identified, you can present them in 3 ways. And we're going to go through them today. Please make yourself a note as we are going through content-rich information yet again today, as we are going to do for all of our courses next week as well. We're going to have a few days, and I'm going to frame this again at the end of our call, where you can send in your questions and your key driving forces to us, and we will actually give you feedback. So making notes and creating as you are going through this course and implementing what you are learning in your organization, your business is key. So as I said, you can present them in 3 ways. There is the continuum, that is 1 driving force. There's the matrix, 2 driving forces, and there is as a volume, and that is for 3 driving forces. And here's the example of presenting the crucial uncertainty along 1 axis, and that is the continuum. John.
Yeah, and one other thing about having 1 axis with a continuum, the 1 driving force, it still gives you a range of uncertainty to work with. Notice it is now a smaller unit to work with. Prior to doing this, you have all this uncertainty. It's everywhere. It's too big. You can't get your head around it. If your business has 1 driving force, then you put it along a continuum. Now you can look at it and now generate the insights that is going to help your business grow and thrive. One of the things on the success exercises that Brigitta is going to talk about later, when you send us your driving forces, and it can be more than 2, list what type of industry you are in, because there might be a different driving force that will affect one industry more than another. So just make sure you put a note on that. Brigitta, please advance to the next slide. So we're talking about the scenario logics. Think about you ever hear about reviews of movies? They're looking for plot holes. Plot holes are an indication of flaws in the underlying logic or logics. So you need to get the underlying logics right. So a different way is a matrix. These are two driving forces. You have one driving force number one on the x-axis and driving force number two on the y-axis. But notice, this is how you bound uncertainty. Uncertainty can be this big thing, and when it's like this, you're like, panicking. That doesn't work. Now with your two driving forces, you have put a bound. You have framed the uncertainty. It's smaller chunks. Now it's not so granular, but it's enough that you can work with it. Notice if this were on a whiteboard for yourself, you can now step back from it. We talked yesterday about disassociating yourself from it. Now you can see it. You're watching a movie on the screen. This is why the scenario process is so powerful. It reframes how you look at the world, and it allows you to step back. You've now taken this gigantic uncertainty that's everywhere and have now bound it. You now have four scenarios to work with. There's also something that's called a wild card scenario. Just like a wild card, when a wild card hits, all bets are off. Now, the wild card scenario, really the impact is so extreme and so uncertain that it must be addressed. Wild card, the impact is so extreme and so uncertain, it must be addressed. This is what's called thinking about the unthinkable. So with that, sometimes you have to deal with it. So the wild card is thinking about the unthinkable. You must look at it, because if it comes down, all bets are off. So in my experience working with companies, you just can handle 4 or 5 scenarios. So Brigitta, go back one slide. Go. Right. In the scenario matrix, note you have 4 scenarios. I haven't put a Roman numeral in each box. You've got 4 scenarios based off of the various driving forces, and plus 1, which is the wild card scenario. So either 4 or 5 scenarios, that is what is most workable for companies. Now, Brigitta talked about this earlier. Go on to the next slide about a volume. All right, a volume has 3 driving forces. We have driving force number 1 on the x-axis, driving force number 2 on the y-axis, and driving force number 3 on the z-axis. Now you have a volume. Now you have a cube. With a volume with 3 driving forces, you will have 9 scenarios. Although 9 scenarios is possible, it's just too many scenarios to handle. Royal Dutch Shell, pioneer of scenario planning process, a multi-billion-dollar multinational organization with a tremendous amount of human resources, financial resources, and others. Even they don't deal with 9 scenarios. Logistically, it is just too much. And another thing, if you're ever attempting the volume with the 9 scenarios, the scenarios begin to blur into one another. And when they blur into one another, they lose their distinctiveness. And the distinctiveness is key in each scenario, because once it's distinct, you can now step back and look at it, and you can then start generating strategies from that. Brigitta, observations or other comments?
Yes, absolutely. So what I'm hearing you say, John, is if there are too many options, people simply shut down. It's just too much, right? So it's essential to handle the uncertainties in each distinct scenario, right?
Yes.
Once you can hold the uncertainties, then you can actually generate those robust strategies that we've been talking about, and that's the goal of this course. So having, what I'm also hearing is, and this is what I want to convey to all of you, when you have too many scenarios, then you start to you either associate too much and you start to panic because it's just too much going on. And when I say associate and disassociate, I hope that everyone understands when you associate with something, you're in it. Like, you are so associated in your life, you are in it. You're not looking from the outside in like you're looking from a window from the outside in. You're associated in it. When you are disassociated, what John said earlier, you kind of put it on the whiteboard and you take a step back. That's when you're disassociating yourself, and in order to map it out. Now, when there are too many scenarios and you're too disassociated, or you're disassociated altogether, it becomes too theoretical and you don't have access to your gut feeling anymore. This is all about robust strategies. And yes, guess what? Your gut feeling plays a part of that. It is a big part of that, and you must be associated in order to get that. Any last comments on this?
One thing I would like to add, think about brains have hemispheric dominance. Some people are more left brain, some are more right brain. Chess grandmasters typically are almost parallel with dominance. Their left brain and their right brain are almost, one is slightly more dominant than the other. So the right brain sees the whole gestalt of the board. Then the left brain drills down into the individual strategies to get from here to there. That's why chess grandmasters are so amazing. So the thing is, you're doing the same thing here with the scenarios. You're accessing both your right brain, which is the gestalt, the bigger patterns, the feelings, the guts. You're eliciting strategies from that part of your brain, as well as from your left side of the brain. Well, how do we navigate all this? That is why the scenario planning process is such an excellent methodology for times of massive disruption. A time for massive disruption is called discontinuity. There's a major break from the past. It's not just a little, things are a little bit different. Think about when you see the walls of the Grand Canyon. Have you ever visited the Grand Canyon? It looks like layers of a cake. You've got this orange colored, and then it stops, and then you get brown, and then it stops, and then you get white. Each one is a discontinuity, is a complete break from the past. That's why other strategy systems are not as effective as scenario planning process is for times like these. So I want to acknowledge all of you for going through this process. And Brigitta is going to talk about some additional ways you can have access to us over the weekend and some additional bonuses, because we want to acknowledge that people have been taking action, and giving you access. Brigitta.
Yeah, and as I said in the last few calls, coaching is a big key on that, right? We've covered the scenario building processes up to scenario logics today, and the importance of coaching is, you already see it. We are answering your questions before we answer one question before we actually got on the recording of this call, and that also shows us that you're open enough to accept other ideas or other strategies that we are teaching you. As I said on our first call on Tuesday, your mind is like a parachute. It works best when it's open. So your willingness to take action and your willingness to implement what you're learning is going to show in your success as you are creating those robust strategies for your own business and organization. So having said that, we're going into a longer weekend. So we are starting our 4th of 6 part series. Number 4 is going to be next Tuesday. Tuesday is going to be the 14th, I think. Let me double check. Yes, Tuesday, July 14th, we're going to have our call number 4. So between now and next Tuesday, you actually have access, and we have success work for you to share your key driving forces. May there be 1, 2, 3, 4. List them. Share with us your industry that you are in. Let me stop sharing my screen so I can see you guys better as well. Send them in to us, and John and I will give you some feedback on it. Also, there might be questions. We had some folks come back to us and say, look, we kind of miss asking you questions. Well, we only have 20 minutes together and we want to be mindful of everyone's time. So over the weekend, if you have any questions up until now, we've gone through steps 1 through 5. Ask your questions. You know, share with us what you're dealing with, your driving forces, any questions that you have. And here's where you're going to send it. I'm going to put it in the chat box, and I'm also going to say it here. You're going to send it to info@NLP Atlanta. Very easy. info@NLP Atlanta. So send in the subject line, say success work, wind tunneling, success work, wind tunneling in the subject line. I'm going to put that in here as well. Wind tunneling, success work.
One thing, as you're seeing that, there was a question, is driving forces are uncertain and impactful. We're not dealing with immediacy. Uncertain and high impact. Prior to COVID coming down, it wasn't immediate, right? The last major outbreak was SARS. So again, that's a driving force. Is it uncertain, and as the impact substantial? We don't worry about immediacy, but again, we're looking at the driving forces. Remember the iceberg to help you identify, is it uncertain, and is the impact significant on your business, or the potential impact? That's what we're dealing with. Good. Brigitta.
So if you want to go back and look at the iceberg, it's actually in your workbook that I shared with you in the email. I'm sending you an email every day with the recording and with the workbook of each day. And there's the slide of the iceberg, and there's also the slide of the cone of uncertainty in there as well. So if you're uncertain about that and you want to go back and review, it's right there in the workbook, or you can re-listen to the recording as well, as Greg did the other day. So that is it from my side. I think we got everything that we wanted to talk about. You know what? I want to share. I want to point one thing out. You're going to have access to us, 2 Grandmasters of NLP, over the weekend. That's huge. You can't put a price tag on that. And we do that out of love and admiration for you, because we want to set you up for success. So, you know, use it, don't misuse it. We're here for you. Thank you again. I will see you on Tuesday, 9 o'clock Pacific, 12 o'clock Eastern time. Yes, Jeannie, thank you for reviewing, because that's where the success lies, in reviewing. And Elena is also nodding her head. Thank you for being on, John. Thank you again. I will see you guys next Tuesday. Bye for now. Ciao.
Bye-bye.
Welcome, everyone. We are live on Facebook, and we are recording, and I will share all of the recordings with you, as I do every day after our calls, as I am doing with the workbooks. So you should be getting another email from me today. Welcome, everyone. This is our 4th day of 6 sessions, and we are wind tunneling your business, how to create and develop robust strategies. So we are going through the 8 steps. We are at step number 6 today. My name is Brigitta Hoeferle, and we just got this done by one of our graphic designers, and I'm absolutely loving it. It's kind of freaky that I'm looking myself over the shoulder, but it's wonderful to be here with you guys. Thank you for tuning in again. Welcome, John. Thanks for being here yet again with us. Over to you real quick.
Yeah, so just again, a little bit about us, about myself. I'm highly skilled in neuro-linguistic programming, worked and lived in Asia. All right, I hit the wrong mute there. Okay, so now everybody is Brigitta, I'll let you handle the muting. I was letting somebody in. I'm the founder of Syntactic Sales Scripting and the author of What Are Your Words Wearing? And I'm a graduate of the Academy of Competitive Intelligence based out of Boston, Massachusetts. I'm a graduate of their Certified Intelligence Professional, so I'm a certified professional, and I've been personally trained by a scenario planner at Shell. So I don't say this to brag, I share this so you can have confidence in what Brigitta and I are sharing with you today. Brigitta, over to you. Okay, Brigitta.
I was muted.
Okay.
So let's get right into it. I muted everyone, including myself. And my husband's probably sitting in the other office and, you know, pounding his leg and laughing because he's been looking for that mute button. All right. So anyway, please have something to write with and something to write on, as we are going to go through step number 6 within the scenarios and the strategies. Please turn these things off, as you do not need them right now. We're going to go through. We're going to do 20 minutes again today. And we're going to do the same thing again tomorrow, same time, same place, and on Thursday. And please stay tuned, as we are going to give you more information on some bonuses that we have and other courses that we are offering in the very near future as well. So having said that, I'm going to change my background here and share my screen as we, oh, wait a minute, bear with me. Oh, sorry. We are going into, there we are. Can you guys see my screen? Okay.
If you can see your screen, thumbs up.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. So we've gone through step 1, identifying the focal issue or decision. Step 2, key forces in the local environment. Step 3, the driving forces. Step 4, rank by importance and uncertainty. And step 5, selecting scenario logics. We ended with step 5 on Thursday. We did open up that you can send in your questions, that you can send in your success work, send in, you know, your discoveries on your driving forces and rank them by importance and uncertainty. And congratulations to the ones that actually did send in their success work. And thank you to John for giving feedback on that success work. So guys, what I really want to point out here is, if we open up our emails to you and say, you can send in your success work, you can send in your feedback, you can send in your questions over the weekend, I would say, go ahead and do that. Because when do you get full access to 2 grandmasters and they're giving you feedback? And kudos to the ones that did take advantage of that, because it's all about implementation. It's all about not just sitting through a course, but then in the next step to implement it, to apply it in your own organization, in your own business, in your own life. Look, that's what NLP is all about. And I'm going to go into preaching, so I might as well go back to my what we're really doing today. So we are fleshing out the scenarios. Today, we are going through step 6, fleshing out the scenarios. And I'm going to go right into it. Most of you, wait a minute, let me play this. There we go. Most of you know the story, facts tell, stories, what? Tell, you got it. So there is power in stories, because stories allow us to be in it. Stories make a point. There are elements of a good story from an NLP perspective, and that is to tell, to make a point from another person's point of view or from your own point of view in a very strategic and also very relatable way. Stories make things relatable. They chunk it down. They allow you to be part of the story. They allow you to associate with a specific situation, or in this case, scenario, and you want to be in the story. You don't want to just be a bystander. You are part of the story. So what stories is your company running? Write this question down for yourself. What stories is your company running, and what stories are you running? And getting very clear on what are some of the stories, what are some of the stories that propel you, and what are some of the stories that hold you back? What are some of the stories that you are not even aware of, that you haven't told yet? What stories are you associated with, and what stories would it be wiser maybe to disassociate? And we're going to talk about association, disassociation here in a little bit. So really getting clear on what stories is your company running and what stories are you running. So John, let's go into fleshing out the scenarios.
And one of the things about what stories is your company running, many of those stories might have been becoming out of date prior to the pandemic. Most of those company stories are now completely out of date, obsolete, and counterproductive. The world has changed. So time to look at your stories, and that's why scenarios are a great way to do that. Let's talk about fleshing out your scenarios. How do you flesh them out? Next slide, please, Brigitta. Remember, we focused yesterday on the last course on scenario logics, continuum, one driving force. Next slide. We have the matrix, two driving forces. Now, what's essential is to weave the pieces of the story together to form a narrative. Now, how do we do that? NLP, we talk about the power of asking good questions. You ask a good question, you're half the way there to an answer to it. So let's talk about the questions you need to ask to flesh out your scenarios. You can go back to the mystery novel. Remember a mystery novel? You are engaged from the get-go. You're being taken on this ride. You're feeling the experiences, the excitement, the curiosity, all these emotions that you're feeling. This is what you're looking for when you're crafting your scenario. So you got your scenario logics, but you need to have a good narrative. The pieces have to fall into place. So what are the questions that you're going to ask to build those, fleshing out the scenario with the right details? Next question, next slide with the questions, please. Number one, how would the world get from here to there? How would the world get from here to there? You're looking at the steps, all right? Two, what events might be necessary to make the end point of the scenario plausible? Plausibility is important. The scenario logics have to be internally consistent. For example, you can't have a scenario with high inflation and low prices. It doesn't work. So when a scenario logics are plausible and the events are plausible, you have the plausibility, now your conscious mind can accept it. And once your conscious mind can accept it as plausible, and now you're ready to go into the scenarios. It's plausible. Yeah, we could get from here to there. Now you're able to elicit those scenarios, those strategies from the scenarios. And it comes from getting the right steps to get there. So what events would make it plausible? Brigitta, over to you.
Yeah, let's talk about, I said it earlier when we talked about stories of association and disassociating into stories. So you want to associate into scenarios. And I've used this term many times before, and I want to give you some clarity. The association is when you're in it. When you are telling a story and you have personally experienced that story, you are in that story. You are telling it from the position of you being completely and utterly in it, right? We're seeing a picture here of a person looking from the outside in through the window, and this person is in a disassociated state. That means that he is not in it, but he has taken a step back and is able to, because he in this case, he or she or they are removed from it and are able to look with distance into the situation. On top of that, if we take uncertainty that's what scenarios are, and this is what we're working through, really looking at the uncertainties. We now have the uncertainty contained in a room or in a space, and it is easier to chunk the uncertainty down so it is more workable. So you want to associate into the scenarios. You want to be part of the scenarios to get the perspective of being in it, right? John's going to talk about the gut level here in a little bit. You want to disassociate out of the scenarios. So you want to know when you go in and when to be associated and when to be disassociated. So the scenarios allow you to toggle between the living in the world of the scenario, so you can generate those strategies because you are going through it, you are living through it, and you can also then disassociate to evaluate and then prioritize the strategies. I'll give you a really good example on a strategic conversation. And what we did before we started today, we went through a strategic conversation. So when we have stories to tell each other, when we have strategic conversations, we are in it. And often our subconscious mind just blurs out stuff. That's where we want you to get. We don't want you to stay in your head, because often when we're so disassociated, we get really theoretical, but we're not getting that gut feeling. So getting into it. So the strategic conversation I had with John yesterday, John and we get on a phone call other than these courses on a regular basis. And I said, look, John, I keep teaching that coaching, and I'm going to talk about this at the end today, coaching through the scenarios, coaching no matter what, but coaching through the scenarios is so key, and it's so important. And I realized it yesterday when I was on the call with John, because I was so in my own business. I was not able, you probably heard this saying before, I was not able to see the forest for the trees. Like, I was so in it that I could not see my own strategies in my own business. And once John kind of opened it up a little bit for me, and we had this strategic conversation, it just started flowing. Like, I took notes and notes and notes. And even after, and John, I haven't even shared this with you, even after we had a conversation, I went on a walk with Christian and the dog, and I said, look, this is what we were talking about, and we could do this. And out of that just kind of snowballed other strategies for our business. So it's unlocking that, being associated, allowing to be associated, and helping a coach, a very strategic and knowledgeable coach, unlock it with you. That's key. So that's where all the strategies are starting to flow. And even as we go into today, I'm going to continue to write down those strategies that are coming up. Other observations, John?
Yeah, and the important thing is it's an ongoing strategic conversation. It just wasn't, we're going to think about it for an hour and then we're done. She went walking with her husband and walking her dog in a more relaxed state, gave her subconscious mind more time to come up with additional potential strategies. So with that, when you're fully associated into a specific scenario, now you can generate those gut level reactions. Now you can dig deep. The good news is when you're associating into one scenario, remember they're plausible, you feel that your crystal ball is 100% accurate. This specific strategy, and you like to give them names, is happening now. It is going to happen. From there, then you can dig deep and generate more strategies. Going through this process, I generated 40 strategies for my business. Now, not all of them are going to be implemented. We're not evaluating them yet. We're just generating them. And when you dig deep, your goal is to get at least 10 strategies per scenario. Then from there, after you've dug them up, then you can start seeing how we can apply them. Again, more options equals more choice. Strategies equals options. NLP is all about increasing choice. With more strategy, now you feel more empowered, more at cause, more able to get things done. You're not going to solve it all with one grandiose strategy, but you're going to have some that you can start doing now. That's very empowering. When other people are losing their heads, you're keeping yours and driving your business forward. So again, it's the raw material. So with that 100% crystal ball, now you can fully associate into that scenario. It's credible, it's plausible, it has good scenario logics, has a good narrative. You've got a story. From there, you elicit the conversation, you elicit the strategies. Brigitta is having an ongoing strategy with her husband and others. It doesn't stop. That's what makes this so powerful. Brigitta, over to you.
Yes, and there were some strategies yesterday that I became aware of, and in the conversation that came up, that I immediately took action on. Like, I went, one of the strategies was to find some other URLs. I went right on GoDaddy and bought them. So it's also that kind of clarity gets you into action quicker, and that's key, specifically during this time right now. Getting into action quicker when you're very clear on what are the next actionable steps. right? And I can't stress it enough. And I said it earlier, coaching is going to be a big, big key in that, because you are so in it. You need someone else to help you associate, and then at the right time, also disassociate. You don't want to stay in it too long or too hard, to not see the strategies that and the outlines that you need to go through. But you cannot just stay disassociated either. In the disassociated state, it's all going to be really theoretical, and you're missing that gut feeling. So it's the importance is here to go through the scenarios with a coach, with someone that will allow you to dig deeper and allow you to see even clearer, and continue to stay in open, because as we've established it earlier, your mind is like a parachute. It works best when it's open. I mean, that's just how it's going to be. No one wants to fly with a closed parachute, and I don't think that your business should fly with a closed parachute or closed mind as well. Your willingness to take action, being able to reframe as you go through the scenarios on the official story, and being able to have that open line of communication with yourself, with your coach, with your team members, with your spouse, with anyone that is involved. So success in management will depend more on the facilitation than command and control. So we want you to make sure that you have that balance of strength and of good coaching, right? That's a balance, and it's not an either or. So today we went through step number 6, fleshing out the scenarios. I'm going to stop sharing my screen here. And I'm also going to change back to our beautiful little background. And tomorrow we're going to go through the step 7, and that is implications. So step 7 is implications. Then also make sure that we have a little bonus webinar on Friday, same time, 9 o'clock Pacific, 12 o'clock Eastern, that you just kind of pencil that in. I'll share more information as we move forward in the next few days. You can also find any webinars, any free courses that we offer on our Facebook group under Facebook Events, NLP Atlanta, under the event tab. And I upload all of our free courses also on our YouTube channel. So if you haven't subscribed to the NLP Atlanta YouTube channel, now is a really good time to do that. We upload all sorts of wonderful courses and free information there as well. So you guys are all lifelong learners. It's wonderful to see all of you here. Rob, great to see you, man. Trey, great to see you. Linda and Joe, we have a lot of Christian Hoeferles on this call yet again.
I counted 2 more. Remember, Brigitta talked earlier about getting access. So if you have questions or aha moments or feedback, email it. So what's the correct email address for them to send that to, Brigitta?
To send it to, I'm going to put it here in the chat as well. Send it to info@nlpatlanta.com. NLP Atlanta, anywhere that you're looking for us, it's nlpatlanta.com is the website, on all social media. So info@nlpatlanta is a great place to email this stuff to us as well. And we are here for you. And, Jeannie, thank you for that. Jeannie says, coaches get you where you want to go. They see what you may not see. That's exactly it. That is exactly it. And I just got off a coaching call with Jeannie this morning. So thank you guys for being here. John, thank you for making this yet another very successful call on our session number 4 on our strategy number 6. Or step number 6, and we will see you guys again tomorrow, 9 o'clock Pacific, 12 o'clock Eastern time, right here, and I will also send you guys a reminder. Thanks for being on. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye. There's many different things that were put into place. They've been free for 6 months. A nation of 22 million people. They realized we don't have enough masks during SARS, so they bought and prepared the mass generating capability. They made each person could get 2 masks. They put instant export control so you couldn't buy it, hoard it, and arbitrage it and sell it later. They've done all sorts of things. Of a country with 23 million people, they had a total of 500 cases. and only about 25 deaths.
Wow.
Totally different experience.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
again, when you're looking at driving forces, don't just think about from the country level. This is for your own business. When you wind tunnel your business with scenarios, now you know what you can do in the short term that's moving you towards the big goal that you want to go to. Great thing, and we're going to talk about implications today, is we'll get deeper into that. You'll really see when you go through the scenario process, my business is not well prepared for certain scenarios. That's a good wake-up call, because now you can be proactive rather than reactive. Brigitta?
Yes. Before we get started, there's another Christian Hoeferle on, and I know it's not my husband because I just asked him. So if you would please come. First of all, we'd love to see all of you. So don't just kind of lurk around here in a, want to be respectful of you. And we also ask you to be respectful of us. Show yourself, be here present, turn on your video, get something to write with and something to write on, because you're going to take notes. I promise you, the ones that have gone through our program know what it means to implement, to take notes and implement what we are teaching and what we're giving you. It's truly a gift. So whoever is here under Christian Hoeferle, I know Greg. Hey, Greg. Whoever's here under Christian, if you would come off video, because we'd like to see, who is on, and I send an email to Zoom to find out why people are coming on as Christian Hoeferle. I have no idea, like zero. So I'm going to mute you really quick, Christian Hoeferle. Will you just state your name, please? Hello. So we have Jeannie, Elena, Greg, and who else is on? Don't know who that is?
This is a safe space. So it's all right to take yourself off of mute and to see the video.
All right. So let's get started. Welcome, everyone. We are in our 5th day. There's Daniel. All right. We are in our 5th of 6 series, in our 6th series webinar and Facebook Lives, Wind Tunneling Your Business, How to Build Robust Strategies for Your Business. We have gone through steps, and let me share my screen with you. We have gone through steps number 1. Bear with me if I can find it. Steps number 1 through number 6. So we've gone through identifying focal issue or decision, key forces in the local environment, driving forces, ranking by importance and uncertainty, selecting scenario logics, and fleshing out the scenarios. If you have missed some of our webinars, some of the series within the series, or some of the recordings, I did send you a recording to everyone that was signed up. So you should have received an email with the recording every day and with the outline and the workbook every day. And I'm going to do the same thing again today as we move forward. So please review. Like Greg has gone back and reviewed. That is awesome. That's how you really wrap your head around what we're teaching. This is not just a, kind of fluff, cotton candy stuff that we're teaching here. This is really, this is meat on the bone a lot. And I'm very grateful that I'm here with John Kurth. My name is Brigitta Hoeferle. John, thanks for being here.
You're welcome. Also, as we pivot on this, we now have an image for Christian Hoeferle. It's either Joe Kavanaugh or Matt O'Neill. I'm not sure which by the image. But again, I'm John Kurth. I'm president and founder of Syntactic Sales Scripting. I'm highly skilled in NLP, worked and lived in Asia for 7 years. I speak Mandarin Chinese conversantly, have an MBA, and I'm the author of this book, What Are Your Words Wearing? I'm also a graduate of the Academy of Competitive Intelligence out of Boston, Massachusetts, and I am a certified competitive intelligence professional. I don't say this to brag. I say this so you can have confidence in what we're sharing with you today. So Brigitta, now over to you.
Right. All right, let's go into step number 7, and that is scenario-specific implications. Remember, your goal is to generate 10, or at least 10 strategies for each scenario. So as you are ranking them, you need to rank your strategies for each scenario. And remember, I'm going to send this to you, but you can also start, creating a list. So rank your strategies for specific scenario. So you have an A strategy or A strategies, you have B strategies, and you have C strategies. In this format that I'm showing you here on this slide is simply write it out, just list it out. Do not overthink it. Go with your gut feeling and just write it out. Before we started the recording today, Jeannie had a really good question. And look, guys, if you're here early, you get to ask questions. So kudos to you, Jeannie, and kudos to you, Greg and Elena, for being here early. Jeannie had a really good question or a good comment. She says, as all of this information that we're giving you is starting to settle in, she might wake up at Friday at 3 o'clock in the morning, go, oh, I get it. And here's what's coming out. That's perfect, because that means it's going on in your subconscious mind. It's not all theoretical in your left brain. We really want you to associate, as we talked yesterday about, associate with the scenarios and get into that, tap into that gut feeling and into your right brain. And that often comes out at 3 o'clock in the morning. So yes, you should have something to write on and write with beside your bed so you can jot it down what's coming up, because chances are you're going to wake up in the morning and go, well, shoot, now I forgot it. Or you don't, another scenario could be that you're not even being able to fall asleep again because you're afraid to forget it. So writing that out is going to be very helpful for you. So this form will be very helpful. Name specific scenario at the top. And then in column A, list all the strategies that you generated. And in column B, give each strategy a letter ranking, A, B, or C. So again, list the specific scenario at the top. In column A, you're going to list all the strategies that you generated. And in column B, you give a strategy, you give each strategy a letter ranking of A, B, or C. John, over to you.
Good. All right. Can we pivot to the next slide? All right. See, implications is finding robust strategies for your business. Now, what is robust? Look at these Olympic athletes. They're from different countries. They are in great physical and mental shape. That is robust. That's what we're looking for the strategies for your business, because really the word implications is very important. You will look at some scenarios and you will say, uh-oh, my business isn't going to do very well in this one as my business is currently structured. So you're looking for robust strategies. Now, a robust strategy works across 3 or 4 different scenarios. So how do you do that? Well, once you have your lists of your various scenarios that you've listed by name, A, B, C, all right, remember we used this chart, the previous one. Go to the previous slide, Brigitta. All right. Now you can also do this on a whiteboard or flip charts. I recommend flip charts if you're doing it in a conference room, but you're going to have 4 different scenarios. So you're going to list them side by side by side. Then you go to the next step. All right, pivot. Now this is the scenario option matrix, okay? So you're gonna list your previous strategies. Now scenarios, just for use, I put scenario 1, 2, 3, and 4. You're going to name your scenarios. Remember, we're talking about narratives. These are novels. These are mystery novels that you can associate into. So one scenario that I've worked on is called super germs. You can associate pretty quickly into that one. So again, you're going to name each one of your scenarios, and then you're going to list your strategies, and then you rank them either +1, +2, +3, or -1, -2, -3. So if a scenario is pretty good, +1, very good, +2, awesome, +3. I use the word awesome. I swore I never do that. I just did. Then we can do -1, -2, -3. Again, so now you're looking at the strategies that you have. This is how you're wind tunneling your business. Does this strategy work in a particular scenario? How well does it work? Now, when you are ranking them like that, +1, +2, or +3, now you're able to find the robust strategies that work across 3 or more scenarios. Now you can really get into action because, hey, you know it's going to work. You know it's robust. You don't have to guess the future. You don't have to fall into the prediction trap. So I'll give an example of a scenario process that was done on a country level. This was the end of apartheid in South Africa, and they figured out 4 strategies. Okay, how's it going to look? There's the ostrich strategy. Think about the proverbial ostrich. It sticks its head in the sand. So that particular strategy in that scenario was sell out. All right. But the 4 scenarios: ostrich, lame duck, Icarus, and flamingos. 4 strategies. Keep ticking over. It's like kicking the can down the road. Keep kicking the can down the road. Short-term investment or long-term investment? Here's how the ostrich did: 0, 0, negative, really bad. Lame duck strategy: sell out, 0, keep ticking over, +1. Short-term investment, +1. Long-term investment, -1. Icarus, think of the myth of Icarus. He flew too close to the sun and then he crashed. All right, so keep ticking over is a +1 strategy. Short-term investment is great. Long-term investment, well, it's not going to be here very long, but it is still okay. The last scenario was flamingos. Remember, flamingos all fly in formation. They're beautiful birds. They're native to southern Africa. Keep ticking over isn't bad. Short-term investment is great. Long-term investment is great. This is what you're going to be doing for your business. You create the name of the scenarios. You list your scenarios. Now you're wind tunneling them. Now, sometimes you'll have a scenario that only works in 1 or 2 scenarios. You need to ask yourself a question: how could this scenario become more robust? What would it take to make it better? Brigitta, over to you.
Yeah, so thank you for that, John. Once you've completed your scenario and option matrix, you're now looking for those robust strategies. Remember, we showed you this image earlier. Robust really means strong and healthy, vigorous. So you want to look at the robust strategies that work all across, all scenarios. This is how you wind tunnel and then test each strategies across the scenarios. The robust strategies are the ones that you're going to implement and take action on. As you're getting clear through this -0 plus process, you're getting super clear on what is going to work and what is not going to work. And therefore, the robust strategies are already crystallizing as and becoming clear as you go through it. You don't need to think, is this strategy suitable? Because the strategies that you're implementing are already robust. It's by going through those processes and taking the steps that we're giving you, it's a very simple and a very deep process all at the same time. So you and your entire team can implement those strategies now with confidence and take action on them. So
One
what
other thing
about
I'd
other?
like to ask you, Brigitta, is the other day we had a strategic conversation. We were discussing scenarios and wind tunneling, the NLP Center of Atlanta, and I gave you, and we discussed and came up with a couple strategies that were robust. One of those, did you wait to take action on it?
No, not at all. We got off the phone or got off our Zoom call and I immediately took action on it. It was so clear and it was so simple to take action on that I wasted no time. And out of that, by me getting into action, I've created some momentum and it sparked other ideas and it sparked other robust strategies that I put into my list. So it's that awareness, it's that clarity that brings momentum once you take action on them, and it sparks more, which makes my own business more robust by implementing those robust strategies, right?
And another issue is, I mean, Brigitta's always into action. She's a grandmaster of NLP. But let's look at this. When you're in action, you're at cause, you're doing things, you're working on your business. You're not in the, oh, what do I do? What do I do? Concrete action on it. This is why robust strategies are so powerful. They work in 3 or 4 scenarios. Once you have them, you know exactly what you're going to do. And your competitors are just kind of waiting for the dust to settle, and they're doing nothing. Brigitta.
Yeah, I love what you just said, John, and it's it shows in the space that we're in right now. People are now, some of my competitors or our competitors are now getting ready to do some Zoom webinars. We've been doing them since March. We've immediately switched from in-person courses to online courses. We had everything in place. All we needed to do is switch over. We were ready. Although we didn't know that we were ready, but we were ready. What about
Yep.
other strategies, John?
The other thing is, if you find a strategy, let's look at a roulette wheel. You might have an image of that. If there is a strategy that only works in 1 or 2 scenarios, those are incredibly dangerous. Those are bet the company strategies. And don't believe the business press, which is really not right. They say, oh, this CEO bet the company and he or she was right. That means lack of planning, lack of scenarios. That's just plain dumb. So if you have a strategy that only works in 1 or 2 scenarios, it could be a bet the company strategy. But then you step back and ask, what minor tweaks could I do to make this strategy robust to work in 3 or potentially 4 scenarios? Some of the strategies that Brigitte and I came up with, at first, it only worked in maybe 1, maybe 2, but with some little tweaking, maybe with an affiliate partner, or it now made it more robust. So this is why this is the process, because strategies by definition have to be distinct. Because if they can be easily copied, then everybody else is going to do them. Brigitta.
Yeah, thank you for that. And that's where the whole reframing comes in, right? Looking at it from different angles, from different perspectives, and being able to associate and disassociate. And quite frankly, that's so that's one of the questions, and we're giving that to you. The format, the outlines, the questions, that's all going to be given to you in the workbook as well. So how could that strategy be adapted to make it more robust, was the question here that John just asked. And that's where the coaching comes in, right? You're having someone that is able to take you through it, having someone that is able to lead you through the scenarios, through the 8 steps that we're going through. Tomorrow, we're going to cover step number 8. Today, we covered step number 7, implications. We want to make sure that you are getting the most out of it, that you are really getting it for your own business, for your own organization, for your own success. And that takes openness. That takes openness on your side to, being able to associate and disassociate that. It takes openness to take action and go do whatever it takes as you're becoming very aware of those robust strategies. And that also takes open communication, an open line of communication between you and your team, between you and your coach, between you and yourself, between you and what you are doing and what you are set out to do and what your well-formed outcomes are. So the scenarios require both strength and good coaching. And tomorrow we're going to go through step number 8, the last step of this. And step number 8 is the selection of leading indicators and signposts. So that's step number 8 and number 6 of 6 in our webinar series. And we have a little bonus for you, and that is, I mentioned it yesterday, the Crossroads of NLP. That is a webinar at the same time slot as we have our these last few webinars. On Friday, July 17th at 9 o'clock Pacific, 12 o'clock Eastern, we have our Crossroads of NLP. John and I will be doing this webinar. It's going to be a very informative and fun webinar as well, as we're going to go through the Crossroads of NLP and just continue our journey of learning. I'm going to stop sharing my screen here. Want to make sure that we have have you all here again. We're going to see each other tomorrow. If you have any questions on the Crossroads, how to get access to it, just simply go on our NLP Facebook group. I posted it there again. It's an event, or go on Eventbrite and look for it on Eventbrite as well, or shoot me a quick email. Either way works well. We want to see you there. Continue to give to you and pour into you, because that is what we're all about, and that's what we're here to do. John, any last parting words for today?
That's it. We're going to finish strong tomorrow. So listen to the material again, and then we're going to finish strong. Today is one of the most important days. So Brigitta, I'll let you sign us off.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being on. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Already great. I love these conversations before the real conversation. Kudos to you for coming in early. And we've been talking about heads cut off of chickens and snakes and guttural reactions from a high knowledge person. This is really good stuff, you guys. And I just love watching the physiology and the ahas that are coming out of that. So welcome everyone to day 6 of 6. Today is Thursday, July 16th. We are going yet one more time through the wind tunneling your business and how to build robust strategies. And I'm feeling that and I'm seeing and I'm hearing that you're getting more clarity, and that there's a lot more clarity to be had. So we're going to give that to you today as we go through our step 8. And let me share my screen with you really quick as I also go back to a different background here.
One other quick observation. I'm very left brain, and yet I was able to toggle very rapidly into my right brain and using both hemispheres to start generating scenarios and strategic insights. This is what's possible for you too, ladies and gentlemen. Brigitta, back to you.
Absolutely. And welcome, Dan Schneider. I didn't know who you were. You came in as Christian Hoeferle, so I made you a question mark, but I just changed your name. So welcome, everyone. My name is Brigitta Hoeferle. I am so honored and thrilled that I'm yet here again with you guys and with my fellow NLP Grandmaster, John Kurth. John, thanks for a fun, very knowledgeable time. This is absolutely incredible. If you are, if you have this thing, this is a telephone, some still have the flip phones, just turn them off for right now, because we have so much wonderful content-rich information to give to you. Also have something to write on and something to write with and something to write on, as we are going to give you step number 8 today. And also know that we are going to share the recording and the workbook with you yet again today via email afterwards. If you are not on your video yet, we would love to see you. We are all about, hey Rob, we're all about giving you energy. And look guys, since we cannot come together in person, having you in person on the screen in the video is just absolutely wonderful. It helps us, it helps you, it helps us create that safe space in that we are playing full out, because John and I are giving our all this morning to you, or this afternoon, depending on where you are. All right, let me go from preaching mode into teaching mode, and let me share my screen with you. As we are going through the steps, just a quick recap here. We went through step number 1, identifying focal issue or decision. Step number 2, key forces in the local environment. Step number 3, driving forces. Step number 4, ranking them by importance and uncertainties. Step number 5, selecting scenario logics. Step number 6, fleshing out the scenario. Step number 7, implications, what we did yesterday. And today we're going to selection of leading indicators and signposts. And John and I do a debrief every day after our course content and our Facebook Lives. And sometimes we just debrief what we have been teaching, or other things that are coming up, or what some of our participants are giving back to us in terms of success work or feedback or kudos or whatever. So we're listening to you guys. And John brought something up yesterday, that a study that he received from Fold and Company. So this is the source of where we're getting some information that we're sharing with you. And they did a COVID-19 impact survey. And I found it fascinating as John was sharing it with me. I said, I want to share that with our group this morning because it's got some really interesting data. So in the preparedness, this is like a whole slideshow, and this is page 11 of their slideshow. And I took 2 slides out of their information. In their data, they're showing that over 51% of the people that they polled feel not prepared. My team or group has the skills and experience to provide to support the company in response to the COVID-19 pandemic and its aftermath. That clearly shows that they were not prepared. On the flip side, as John mentioned yesterday, when he lived in Taiwan, they went through SARS, and after SARS, they created like a whole preparedness strategy around that, and they were prepared for COVID-19, and they got out of it really quick because they were prepared. So as we are going through these scenarios and we're passing on this information to you and your organization and your clients, because you're going to be more prepared as you are working in your own business and moving forward, you're going to be part of that green area where you're going to say, I strongly agree. I actually was prepared because John and Brigitta, sorry there, John, put you there with the other special K. John and Brigitta have prepared us so greatly, and things that, we weren't even, we didn't see because we didn't know what to look for. We didn't know how to actually prepare for that. And then this is the other slide, and I found this fascinating. And it says, my group has or is contemplating deploying the following to better navigate the impact of COVID-19. So they are doing more strategic workshops. They probably via Zoom right now, right? Mm-hmm. John and I picked up on Zoom courses right when the pandemic started. We started our first course in March, like we wasted no time. This is not to pat on our own backs, which I'm doing. This is just to show that we were prepared with Zoom, with all of our knowledge in holding space in a Zoom call, in a Zoom course, with having interaction with our participants, with getting feedback from our participants. So we were ready, and we want you to be ready as well. Then underneath the strategic workshops is this panels, and I want to be very mindful. I was on a panel on Sunday. Panels are only as good as the facilitators, and panels, there are many experts with different opinions, and if we look at the iceberg model again, they're staying on top of the water level, right? They're only focusing at the very top. They're not going to the roots. They're not going into what really needs to be addressed. So I would be really mindful. I would rather go into masterminds, and that's what John and I are teaching. Masterminds are, they're going deeper into that, into the individual thinking, into the ideas, into the true insights. That's what the scenarios are. Those are true insights that you can take action on that will make your business and your organization run a lot smoother and be prepared. So then you see underneath the panel, scenario workshops. Isn't that fascinating? Interesting. When John showed me that, or just mentioned that that slide yesterday, I said, wow, we are on the right track. Little did I know, right? But we were prepared, and I'm really not surprised. And then you see the focus groups, of course, and then the wargaming or the war games happen after any scenario workshop. So there's a true sequence to that, and we will go into that at some other time. But I just, I had to share this information because it's validating, it's confirming that you guys are on the right track. So kudos to you. So let's go get right into it. So we're looking at leading indicators and signposts, and you want to look at these leading indicators of what is to come. So don't focus on any lagging indicators. It's important to know as soon as possible, which of the several scenarios is closest to the course of history as it unfolds. Many of you have gotten back to us, some of you gotten back to us this morning with your success work and with your clarity that you've gotten going through the steps within our course. This can be significant. This can be a significant competitive advantage. Like you being so educated and you being so prepared has a huge advantage to your competition. Because of Shell scenario planning before the oil shock of 73, they were positioned to thrive. You know, John talks often about this scenario. Shell went from the 8th largest oil company in the world to the 3rd largest in just 10 years because they were prepared, because they went through that process. The competitive advantage from scenarios is applicable to both small and large companies. And yeah, I want to add to that, you know, we have pivoted so quickly because we were prepared. John.
Yes, we pivoted in March, and now it's almost the end of July. We've had a 5-month head start on our competitors. How would you like to have at least a 5-month head start on your competitors? This is one of the main benefits of scenarios. So we're talking about identifying indicators and signposts. You want to identify a few indicators to monitor in an ongoing way, at least 3. Now, I want to talk about the difference between signal and noise. Noise it comes from physics. Noise is a disturbance, especially a random or persistent disturbance that obscures or reduces the clarity or quality of a signal. A signal is the sound, image, or message transmitted or received by telephone, radio, television, or radar. I include internet, any type of media in this. Think of a man playing with a yo-yo walking up the stairs. If you're focused on the yo-yo, that's the noise. The signal is the man is walking up the stairs. You're looking for 3 to 5, a cluster or a constellation of at least 3 signals that you can monitor in an ongoing way. When you do that, this becomes part of your company's early warning system. And you translate the movements of some of those key indicators into action steps that you can now then implement based off of your strategies, the robust strategy you've created. Now I'll use one signal that is almost leading right now during the epidemic. It's called exitcovidstrategy.org. It's a 14-day rolling average of each state. That's about as real time as you get. And if you're going even more granular, Johns Hopkins can now get it down to the county level anywhere in the United States. Now let's look at other leading indicators. Technology adoption is one. Number of smartphone purchases is another. That's why so many tech companies from around the world are fighting over and in India. It's a $1.2 billion people. Some of them have never had smart bones. They have smart bones. We want them to buy smartphones. So what is the rate of technology adoption? That is a leading indicator. So think about potential leading indicators for your industry. Now, the logical coherence that's built into the scenarios allows the logical implications to be drawn out of the scenarios. With those leading indicators, now you know the guy is walking up the stairs with a yo-yo. Now you've got that jump on your competitors. Just initially, and really it's more than a 5-month jump for Brigitta and myself, because those people are just now getting started. 5-month jump on your competitors. What would that do for your business? Going from number 8 to number 3 in 10 short years. What would that do for your business? That's why it's a scenario process. So Brigitta, I'd like you to share some insights about Eureka moments and then share with our audience some additional resources we have for them.
Absolutely. You know, I just thought about the platform that we're on right now, Zoom. If they would have not been prepared with servers, they must have been prepared somehow. With servers, the whole thing would have collapsed. Zoom, I don't know the numbers, and you can probably easily Google them, but Zoom has just skyrocketed in usership, right? Like everyone and their dad started signing up for Zoom because everyone had to shift. Some people, some of my competitors are starting to now get it that, oh, maybe they need to do what they used to do in front of people, maybe on Zoom. So yes, thank you for that, John, and I'm being a little facetious over here. So I want to give you an overview of the steps again. So we had step number 1, identifying focal issue or decision. Step number 2, the key forces in the local environment. Step number 3, the driving forces. Step number 4, ranking by importance and uncertainty. Step number 5, selecting scenario logics. Step number 6, fleshing out the scenarios. Step number 7, implications. And today's step number 8, selection of leading indicators and signposts. So, you know, where are there clues? One of my mentors used to say, there's got to be a clue. Look for the clues. And we're going to give you another clue. And some of you have some of you that have taken the past 6 series over from Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday last week, and Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday this week. I've had, you know, people just being glued to the screen and just looking at us going, give me more, give me more. And some are a little glazed over and they're like, oh, where do I even start? And all of that is a great place to be, right? And most of you have gone through some of these eureka moments. And going through those eureka moments are incredibly insightful. Of course, that's what eureka moments are. And it also wants you to have more. It leaves you hanging for wanting more. And we've listened to you guys as you've been turning in your success work. And we want to give you more of that insight so it actually goes deeper and you're getting more to the bottom of what clearly your scenarios are. So again, John and I have listened to you guys and we have stuck our heads together and we're going to do scenarios for the great discontinuity.
Discontinuity.
Thank you.
The great discontinuity.
Developing robust business strategies for the pandemic world. And we have fleshed this out. So we're going to go through actual scenarios. We've created these scenarios and we have created newsroom environments on the super germ scenario, on the war of attrition scenario, on the 4 horsemen scenario, and on the age of pandemics scenario. And we are leading you through these scenarios for you to get an even deeper understanding of your own scenarios, of your own opportunities and possibilities as you are being more prepared in the growth of your organization and your business. So I'm not going to read every word here. I'm going to also send this to you, but we're going to do a deeper dive into the construction of the scenarios. You'll learn more about this process, identifying your key scenario drivers. We'll peel back the curtains of the scenario logics. You'll see the logical coherence that was built into the scenarios and creating those narratives and that association for yourself. You're going to be fully associated in those scenarios, and you are being able to take away your own strategies out of that. So you'll learn more about the scenarios to create a capability and portfolio options for your business, because it is all about creating those robust strategies for your business. That's just the first day, okay? So on the second day, we're going to kick off the scenario planning process to wind tunnel your business. We're going to do the first scenario, going to be super germs. Informative and shocking newscast will have rapidly living you in that world. You'll be totally immersed and feel as if you are in it. Okay, we're going to take you through that process, dig deep to find the strategies for the super germ scenarios and create those exercises around it. On day 3, we're going to do the scenario building process as a marathon. We're going to go step by step through it. We're not going to run through it and sprint through it. We're going to create a whole community and business around it for you and with you. Then we're going to do the second scenario, and that is the war of attrition. Every day seems like a battle for business survival. And we are helping you set yourself apart from your competition with the scenarios. You'll develop the business strategies that are built for the long haul. So we're going to go into the war of attrition so you can play the long game. And you are going, you know, you're going to outrun and outweigh your competitors as you go through day 3 and the scenarios of day 3. On day 4, the previous scenarios are going to feel like a walk in the park compared to what we're going to do on day 4, because we're going to go into the next scenario, and that is the 4 horsemen. So Andy Grove, former chairman and CEO of the Intel Corporation, said it's best, and I can't read it because my picture
Only the paranoid survive.
Only the paranoid survive. You learn to develop those strategies that work well in living like a total chaos. So you'll be able to keep your head above everyone else when they're losing. Like, that's what you're going through right now in this pandemic. You are here with us. You're major steps ahead of your competition. And day 5, your business is ready for the wildcard scenario. In this wildcard scenario, we're going to go through the age of pandemics. And in this wildcard scenario, all bets are off. As we discussed the wildcard scenario, I think on Tuesday this week, other business owners are using bet the company strategies and are losing. Bet the company strategies are for amateurs. You're not amateurs. You're here with us. You're learning from 2 grandmasters. You are here to learn and develop those very robust strategies with us. So that's day 5. And then on day 6, robust strategies and leading indicators, you identify your robust strategies that work across multiple scenarios. So we're going to draw them out with you. You're going to get success work. We're going to lead you through it. You're going to get a whole lot more clarity. The gaze will be a lot clearer over your head and in your head and down onto a cellular level. And no, as John said earlier, it is not just the left brain. This is not just happening in the left brain. This is not all knowledge, right? It is a beautiful balance of the left and the right brain. And I think that's where a lot of people misinterpret this, that it's only, you know, very logical, very knowledge driven, very content rich. Yes, it's all of that. And it needs your gut level. It needs you being associated and you bringing it out. Therefore, no one else can do it for your business. Only you can. So going through the 6 days, scenarios for the great discontinuity. Thank you. That's an anchor all in itself. So again, we're going to do 6 days, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday next week. And then the week after that, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, just like we had in most of our courses and probably in all of our courses. We're going to start next Tuesday, July 21st at 9 o'clock Pacific, 12 o'clock Eastern, as we usually do. For other people, it's a full value of $2,500. But guys, you're not other people. You are leaders, and we pride ourselves in leading leaders, and that's why you're here. So today's an online investment only of $997. That is for you only and for your eyes only. Space is very limited. We're not taking everyone. We're only taking select few leaders, and you guys have first dibs. So if you're in, you are in, and I'm going to say when you're in, you're in. So right now in the chat box, type I'm in. We're going to get in touch with you. You're going to get a phone call probably from me later today after I wrap this up and we have a conversation, John and I, and I'm going to give you a call. So right now in the chat box, type I'm in, because why wouldn't
and just
you?
repeat again the dates. The dates again.
Yep. So dates is going to start July 21st. So it'll be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, July 21st, 22nd, 23rd. That is next Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And then July 28th, 29th, and 30th. That's the week after that. And it starts at 9 o'clock Pacific, 12 o'clock Eastern, and it goes for 1 hour each day. So we're going to go way deeper into the scenarios. You're going to be associated, so you're not going to be able to do it while you're driving. Okay, you're going to be stationed at your desk or somewhere where you can take notes and you actually can go through it, because we are associating, we're getting you into the scenario. And it's a beautiful process that we have done a huge production around, which was a lot of fun to get you associated. So it's going to be an incredible time. So, you know, be ready, because here's one thing that I'm pretty sure all of you know now, working with John and I, it's not going to be boring. You're going to walk away with very applicable steps. And I'm excited that you guys are in. For the ones that typed in, I'm in. And, you know, when you make your decision down the road today, just shoot me a quick email at info@NLP Atlanta, info@NLP and say I'm in. You're welcome to do that as well. So I'm excited to see you next week. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Wonderful to see you all. Thank you for being here with us. John, thanks for being here. Bye, guys.
And you're just getting started.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much. Brigitta, over to you.
Thank you, guys. You're going to hear from me later on today. Bye for now.